Hello. A lot of people in this generation fear that without a social media presence, they're missing out. However, social media can be described as unimportant entertainment services that are currently having a good run. These networks are fun, but you're misleading yourself if you think Twitter messages, posts, and likes are a productive use of your time. So this behavior that people have towards social media apps is misguided. The proposition that I'm arguing for is that Twitter has negative effects on people. I will make 3 claims. The first claim is that Twitter enables the spread of false information. The second claim is that Twitter lacks privacy. And the third claim is that Twitter causes people to waste time. So the first claim, Twitter enables the spread of false information. Twitter users tend to be heavy news consumers than other social media users. News is indeed one of the primary activities that they engage with on this network. They tend to use this service heavily, several times a day, and their use of this network is increasing how much news they consume. While Twitter users follow news in general on the service, they do so as a way of passing time, but they act differently when it comes to breaking news. They become more participatory, commenting, posting, and sharing at moments, even when events are moving fastest. This is how false information spreads. The American Press Institute, which is an educational nonprofit organization affiliated with Newspaper Association of America, whose mission is to encourage the advancement of news media, collaborated with Twitter, where they produced a survey that explains the relationship between Twittersphere and news use. And they said that 64% of users said they encountered something on Twitter, then later discovered it wasn't true. That fake news reached more people than the truth. An example of this is the 2016 election, where 3 months prior to the 2016 election, there were false news stories being shared about the candidates, where most of the discussed fake news stories favored Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. However, in February of this year, a federal grand jury indictment announced by Special Counsel Robert Mueller that a Russian group created fake Twitter accounts to reach significant numbers of Americans for purposes of interfering with the U.S. political system. He stated that the Russians used fake accounts to support Donald Trump that hated Hillary, and they used fake accounts to hire an actress to portray Hillary in a prison uniform. Now, although this information can be corrected, it doesn't have an impact. Paul Resnick, a professor of information at the University of Michigan, built a software that can track rumors on Twitter, dividing those that spread information and those that correct it. He stated, for the rumors, the people that tweeted the rumor was larger than the number of followers who corrected it. Even when a correction reached a lot of people and false information reached a lot of people, they were not the same people. The problem is that corrections do not spread very well. My second claim is Twitter lacks privacy. Edward Snowden, a computer professional and former employee at Central Intelligence Agency, provides documents that state the problems with privacy that users have on Twitter. The first is the National Security Agency, which is a level of intelligence agency of the U.S. Department of Defense program that allows analysts to search with no prior authorization through databases containing emails, online chats, and the browsing histories of millions of individuals. They also created a program called XKeyscore, and this obtains real-time interference of the individual's internet activity. So this can monitor your Twitter activity and read the contents of private social media messages simply by entering a person's username into their system. It can also affect your insurance rates. Contigo Services Group insurance companies have developed social media investigative departments to assist with claims, underwriting, and catching insurance fraudsters. If material is publicly posted online, law enforcement and investigators can use it against you. The behavioral tracking technique makes it easy for insurance companies to gather information from you at all times, so all types of insurance companies are looking to see if you're telling the truth. This can be a problem if you're oversharing on Twitter, and it can end up costing you a lot of money. Sometimes what people share on Twitter can reveal incriminating information. Consider the story in CBS News about Kayla Mendoza, who pulled her Hyundai Sonata onto Sawgrass Expressway going the wrong way and crashed into a 2012 Toyota Camry, killing 2 passengers. She tweeted, "Too drunk to care." So when the families filed a lawsuit against Kayla, in addition to seeking compensation for medical and funeral expenses, Kayla claimed that she's a victim, she's a human being, she didn't mean for it to happen, and that when she tweeted "Too drunk to care," she said that it was a message to her boyfriend. However, it didn't take long for the insurance companies to see that many tweets of hers referenced about her bragging about being a pothead princess. So insurance companies were able to gather information about what really happened that night when she crashed and used it against her. And this is a problem because it's very tempting for people to post their night out on Twitter. It can be damaging to your life, even if you feel like what you did was a mistake, even if you feel like in that moment what you post won't have consequences. Her family also realized that her Twitter account had a major impact on how she was viewed in the situation, and they started coming up with stories saying that she was hacked, and they later deleted her Twitter account. My last claim is that Twitter causes people to waste time. So students, while wasting time and studying online, get attracted to using Twitter, and sometimes they forget why they're using the internet. This wastes their time, and sometimes students are not able to deliver their work in a specified time frame. In the International Journal of Science and Research, Vijay Kumar, this professor stated, when alerted a new post or tweet, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes for the average user to return to their original task. 30% of the time, it takes 2 hours for the user to return to their original task. The International Journal of Science and Research also has talked about the loss of motivation in students, that students' motivational level reduces to the use of Twitter. They rely on the virtual environment instead of gaining practical knowledge from the real world. So for my argument, I've made 3 claims. The first was that Twitter enables the spread of false information. The second was that Twitter lacks privacy. And the third was that Twitter causes people to waste time, which are all reasons that have a negative effect on people who use Twitter.
All right, Maya, the proposition's very clear. There's a good preview, so we know what's coming up. I'm not sure how much controversy there is on a couple of these points. The first point about the spreading of false information, I think, is the argument that where there's the most controversy, that might be most important, that it maybe altered the way people perceive the world. It has a harmful consequence on how people view political issues, or it distracts them from things that might be more important. I think that could be developed to be something that's a lot more significant and relevant than some of the other points that you have. For example, the third point, which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad point, but it's like, really? No kidding. People waste time on social media? I would never have guessed that was true. I don't want my facetiousness to shine through too much, but that's not really a big surprise. The only thing that's surprising on that third point is how significant you say it is in terms of time. That there is an interesting study that you've got there. I think we could use a little bit more information on that to believe it. But other than that, I think the third point is probably a given. The second point, I don't know that it really helps you that much. The example that you present, in fact, you present a couple of examples, suggest that people who are revealing things about themselves publicly, in essence, are in danger of being seen for the people that they really are. And I'm not sure that anybody is all that worried that that is, in fact, a problem. So, like I said, I think the first point is the one that probably could use the most development. There appears to be some interesting issues there. You had a couple of examples that you went to. I thought it was nice and forcefully delivered, and there's a very clear summary at the end of the speech. Thank you.